Hi guys, Ali Taylor here, and today we're going to be talking about my new driver and how, with the little swing changes I've made, I might need to just tweak this a little bit. Right then guys, so pre-lockdown in the UK, I got fitted for a new driver. Now, what I would say is, whatever driver I get fitted for, I'm always very kind of close to what my optimum is. So sometimes with me, the changing isn't always about hitting it further. It's maybe about a little bit better dispersion and maybe just something that I like the look and feel of that little bit more to maybe give me that little bit of confidence. And that's not always measurable, but I think that's a really important part of any golf club, but particularly things like driver, wedges and putter. So pre-lockdown as well, I always felt that my impact position was a little bit on the weak side. So I have been making some little changes to my golf swing, which have changed the way I deliver the club. And I'm going to show you why, as good as this was in its current setting previously, how I might just need to adjust this a little bit. Now I'm a little bit different with the way I deliver my driver, and help you guys understand that this is the beauty with the modern equipment, that as you develop and hopefully improve that little bit, these drivers can grow with you. So anyone that's been watching my videos while I've been in lockdown will have probably spotted I've got a new driver anyway. So what is it? It's a Cobra driver, and we are looking at the SpeedZone driver from Callaway. So my setting prior to lockdown was a 9-degree head at -1.5 degrees. And the beauty was, this setting would get me my launch angle round about 12 degrees, my backspin round about 2,200 revs per minute. Now what I would say, I was swinging a little bit quicker before lockdown, so I was up to round about 111, 112. I'm a little bit back on that since lockdown, and I think that's more down to me being a little conscious of what I'm doing in my swing a little bit more. But we're going to hit some shots with this setting, see what I'm missing out on, and see how making little adjustments with my new driver can get me back to being optimum. So when you go for a driver fitting, obviously what most of us are after is maximum distance with maximum accuracy, the dream. But what I'm looking for is the club head speed I'm swinging at, and my delivery into the club, whether that be a little bit down, level or up at impact. Am I absolutely optimizing what I can physically create? So if it's saying on TrackMan that I should be hitting it 260 through the air and 285 total, I want to see how close I can get to that. And what I was seeing with this pre-lockdown is I was getting, I think, within 2 or 3 yards of my optimum, and I felt I had lots and lots of control on it. So let's hit a few shots at the current setting. Then I'll talk about the little adjustments I've made in my golf swing and how possibly the driver setting is going to have to change slightly to accommodate my new swing. Right, so that last one would be a really good example. So I can definitely see my club head speeds back. And I would say with my irons, it hasn't dropped off at all, but definitely with driver, I feel a little bit out with my timing. But let's just look at what's happening, particularly with that last tee shot, and see why I'm not getting the kind of distance I maybe should be. So for me, that one was right out the middle. So what we can see there is my ball speed was really good for the club head speed I'm generating at 154. But nowadays my launch angle's dropped down and my spin's dropping down. So the danger is once you get in that low launch with low spin, the ball's just generally dropping out the air a little bit too quick, never really get to that peak height. So my rollout's good. I mean, currently I'm a long way off getting up to that 300 carry that I'm looking for, but there are other reasons for that. So we can see normally I would be kind of 4 to 5 degrees up with my angle of attack, but we can see bottom right there, I'm only 2.4 up, which I know for some guys would be really good, but for me I'm definitely hitting less up, I'm definitely launching the ball a little bit lower, and undoubtedly spinning it less. So once we look at the averages there, we can see my carry drops off because my ball speed drops down. I had a couple where the strike was a little bit off, but ball speed down made spin go up a little bit, but still very bottom end on launch and spin. Right, so let's first of all talk about the little changes I've made in my golf swing. So what I've always felt with driver, and I've been better at it over the years I think with irons, but maybe not quite as good as I'd like with driver, is as a general rule, my lead wrist, as I swing back, I get a little bit cupped. So as I come into impact, I've always found that I've just released the club a little bit earlier, and then into impact, I present a lot of loft. The club head maybe just slightly gets ahead of my hands. So there's a slight lack of power as well. And then as I'm adding loft, I'm losing ball speed, launch angle's jumping up. So I've always wanted to kind of feel, if I can, that I can keep the loft off rather than going less and less lofted. But I'd always found that really tricky, and I think the big thing for me was feedback, making sure I was doing it correctly. And while I've been in lockdown, I've actually not got it in here with me now, but I'll put a picture up on screen. I've actually invested in the Hack Motion sensor, which goes on your lead hand and gives you some feedback on lead wrist angles. And I found it very interesting that very quickly I've been able to slightly reduce my angle at the top, but certainly get a much flatter lead wrist into impact. And I definitely picked up ball speed with irons, definitely felt as well a bit more control. I think the little challenge it then creates with driver is because I've always tried to keep loft off by setting the driver correctly, which I would absolutely agree was the right thing. The club, the driver, should always be fitted to the golf swing, and I was pretty consistent with it. But now I feel I'm delivering the club differently. We'll decide whether it's better or not. I feel I probably need a little bit more loft on this. That's going to get my launch angle up. It's going to give me a little bit more backspin, probably give me a little bit more forgiveness as well on accuracy of shots. So I'm going to take the wrench and I'm going to move from 7.5 back up to 9. I'm going to hit a few shots. I'm not going to try and do anything differently with the way I deliver the golf club. We're just going to see by setting the club better suited to the way I deliver the club, do I start hitting the ball further? Do I start getting better performance so that when we get back out playing, and certainly in between now and then, I need to get back some club head speed. Will I start maximising my tee shots? So, as I set up with 9 degrees, I can definitely see a little bit more of the club face, which isn't actually a bad thing with what I'm feeling now through impact. So, let's see. So spin was very low again. Don't mind that too much though. That was kind of getting out there as a solid one. Again, low and left. Okay. I mean, I might actually need to go a little bit more lofted than this. Right, so that was different. Okay, let's go one more. But that, I would imagine, will be a little bit closer to being optimum. And again, spin a little bit on that low side. But we can see there, I've actually hit up a little bit more on that. I did go just marginally higher with my tee height as well. But let's look at those last two and see how close they were to optimum. So we look at penultimate one there. So everything lined up in the blue. So we're seeing very close to optimum. Carry 259 as opposed to 262. 282 total as opposed to 288. But we can see that launch angle higher, little bit more spin, higher shot, and just all in all, a better shot. So even the last one there, even though it launched a little lower and the backspin was a little bit low, everything's still better and still incredibly close to being optimum, and most importantly, starting to go further than they were before. And it's interesting there, even though I've put a bit more loft on that, I've actually started hitting up just a fraction more. That's actually a little bit more than I would normally do, but then that's starting to get better, but that extra loft on the club head is starting to give me a little bit more of what I need. Right, so that's good. I mean, such a little difference as well, and the beauty is, I'm confident that what I'm working on is the right thing for my golf swing, but what I was starting to obviously see with driver is hitting it less far, then maybe me trying to manipulate my swing to the driver, where a little tweak with loft, now I feel I can stand there, make the swing I'm looking for. And we can start getting it out there again, the kind of distances I'm looking for. Then the key is picking whether I'm going draw or fade and start hitting longer, more accurate tee shots. Right then guys, so my new driver, already just needing to tweak it a little bit, but not needing to change driver, that's the key. You know, the nice thing for me is I obviously get to practice on TrackMan, so I can monitor my launch conditions, but just a little tweak in there suddenly gives me that confidence back. I start hitting it where I should be in those windows for correct launch, correct speed, and then as I pick my speed back up, if I need to make any adjustments, I can do, and we can go from there. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you've enjoyed today's video and you don't currently subscribe, please click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.